Welcome to Cactical Main. Welcome back to Cactical Main. We are down on the tabletop. We got things brightened up just a little bit so you can have a good gander. What we're doing today is how to clean an 8K. Well, there's a few things you need first. And obviously this is just my method, not everybody. There's not one set in stone method. So things you need, obviously, you need yourself an 8K that is dirty. Or you just purchased it and you want to get some grease and whatever, get that barrel cleaned out. Next thing you need is some kind of solvent. This is my favorite. Everybody knows hops number 9 is my favorite. Not quite sure why the focus is set over there. But hops number 9, once again, great stuff. I run grease. This right here is some rifle grease, but you can also use whatever grease, really high temp bearing grease. Anything works. Boar snake, it's absolutely not needed, but it does make your life a whole lot easier. Get one in 30 cal, 7.62. Need yourself a rod at the bare minimum. Need yourself a cleaning rod, an eyelet to run a patch through, and obviously a boar brush. At the very minimum, also a rag and a toothpick for your grease. So we start off by unloading and showing clear for yourself, and if you're videoing for YouTube, then YouTube as well. This firearm is clear. Go ahead and break it down. This video is not going to go over that. YouTube, for some reason nowadays, has an issue with that, but there are other videos out there that they're okay with. Don't understand it. Get your recoil spring out, bolt and all that. Bolt carrier, bolt group, whatnot have yous, set it aside. Anytime you take it apart is a good time to do an internal inspection on your trunnion, your trigger, your pins, your rivets, everything inside, your rails, how everything's doing. Just give it a look over. We got some build up there that we want to get off. Don't have to get it all off, but you want to get as much as you can off of there. Alright, there's no need to remove your lower handguard unless you just want to and get a good oiling wipe down on your barrel. The first thing I start with is getting some solvent down in that barrel to start working on it. So what I'll do is get my get boar brush, get some solvent on that boar brush, and get it down in the barrel so the solvents can start working on the caked up stuff in the barrel. Now I'm going muzzle first. You typically don't want to go muzzle first. You want to come in from the rear. However, I have lost my additional cleaning rod needed in order to do from chamber in. So just run your cleaning rod a few times. Run that boar brush down in there. Loosen up some stuff. Get your rag. So let's find a clean portion on this rag. So you see we're clean. I'll just wipe what came off just then. She's dirty. So we got some solvent sitting in there. Is it as much as I want in there? No. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get a patch in there. And I'm going to run some solvent on a patch in there so we make sure that it's nice and soaked in there. And the carbons and the copper and residues and all such, lead is breaking free. There we go. So now she's soaking wet, and look how dirty that rag is. Now we set that aside and we let that work. Let that sit on there and we will come back to that. Now, let's come in a little closer, shall we? Now it's time to clean the bolt. First thing I do, you can do it however you want. You can do it however you want, but what I typically do is I give everything a wipe down first, because if you just instantly go throwing solvent on there, you're basically making carbon mud and a bigger mess than anything else. So you wipe it off, get it all, as much of the free flowing carbon and grease off of there as you can. Then you grab your cousin's toothbrush, get some solvent on there, and just slowly start brushing away. Now be careful when you're doing this with solvents, because the toothbrush does fling it everywhere. So, oh, I'm not even in frame. Toothbrush does fling it everywhere, so if there's something around, see how it's just flinging it on my fingers? I don't think they're going to come in focus. I don't know if you can tell. So, if you got stuff nearby that you don't want getting covered in solvent and carbon, move your location. Alright, so what we had was 1,000 rounds on this bolt. There is no need for me to get down and remove the firing pin and clean in there just yet. But you see how dirty she is. We'll probably do that at probably around 5,000 rounds. It's not needed unless it starts sticking. I don't know if you can tell. Everything's been given a scrubbing. It's nasty. Wipe it down. Wipe all that broken loose carbon and solvent off, and you'll end up with a beautiful, clean bolt. I don't know if you'll be able to tell a difference on the camera. I'm at a weird angle, so I can't really see the viewfinder very well. But that quick and easy, we have a clean bolt. Go ahead. Now it's time for the bolt carrier. We're going to rinse and repeat. Cousin's toothbrush once again with some solvent, and just start brushing away. Now you don't have to do this all the time. AKs will run dirty. They will run dirty as hell, right? But if you're someone that doesn't like to leave dirty guns in the case in the cabinet, you need to do this. See how dirty your cousin's toothbrush got? Put it back, dip it back in your solvent. It'll clean it up a little bit, and just keep going. Make sure you're getting the rails everywhere. If you're looking for a green one, if you're looking for a clean rifle. Again, you don't have to do all this. It will continue to run as long as you're properly lubed. So we had some rust over here from rain. Just get this on there. I tend to not use wire brushes. I know most finishes on firearms nowadays are strong enough to handle wire brushes. I just stay away from them. There's carbon all up and down this joker. So just get that on there, let it sit. I could have wiped this down too. As you can see, I'm making mud, but I didn't wipe it down. So get some solvent on your piston, let it sit on there, let it soak in, and scrub. Scrub a dub dub. Now you'll see when you take a look at your piston, there would be carbon buildup all over that joker. You don't need to get that off of there, unless the only time you absolutely have to clean is if you're using corrosive ammo. If you're using corrosive ammo, you got to get all that crap off there. But you just do it with water and then normally clean. So you see how dirty everything is, guys? Check this out. See the piston? Ooh-wee. She dirty. Let's give it a wipe. See how much it just cleaned up? Just like that. But the piston is like chrome lined. Again, you don't have to get it superb. Dirty. And give everything a wipe down. If you're using like a CLP, it is going to be a little tougher. I understand solvents can be a little harsh on some people. Some people are really sensitive to it with their skin. Some people are really sensitive to the smell of it as well. Let's see. We got the rust off just with solvent. So we're good. There's a couple marks there. That's probably from casings scratching it. But just again wipe everything down, pinch your rag to get it down in the little small spaces. Get all that solvent out of there. You don't want to leave solvent. Get in the rails, get you a nice little pinch thing, and just run your rag down in it to get that solvent out of there. Dust cover typically does not need any cleaning. It does get dirty in there. I don't know if I'll be able to depict that very well, but you can see I kind of have a clean pinky. Just wiped it in there. My pinky not so clean no more. You can just wipe that out with a rag. You don't really have to hit it with solvent, but if you want to, you can. Just if you do, just make sure you re-oil it. Because if you start getting scratches and there's no oil, you will get rust. Recoil spring, you don't ever really have to do anything with that. Just give it a wipe down. Make sure there's nothing wrong with it. No cracked springs or broken springs or other whatnots. Now we go back to the actual rifle itself. Alright, this is going to be somewhat difficult to show you guys on here. What I do is I typically just give good rag wipings on the rails. Get that carbon and grease gunk out of there. Get the lower rails. Get it out. And now if you're shooting a lot of ammo with sealed primers and sealed necks, you will see a lot of that build up in there. It will continue to function just fine. If you're rocking the same optic mount that I have, that I'm currently rocking, it makes it a little bit more difficult to get down in the, well, that was loud, in the trunnion area. I can't even see. There we are. Just get your finger in there with the rag and wipe it down. It always pretty much wipes clean without the need of solvents. Sometimes it gets a little gunky in there. If you need some solvents and you want to brush away in there, more power to you. You're welcome to do so. Once you're done with all that, now it's time to clean the barrel. You can either continue to run, where'd it go? You can either continue to run this down there, your bore punch, or you can run your bore snake. But after I've let it sit, remember how we soaked it? I want to run the bore brush down there a couple more times just to loosen up all the stuff that's caked in there. Alright, I got that out of the way. We run the bore snake. Boy, I need a bigger table. It through. She can be tight sometimes, especially if she's I can't stay in daggone camera. If she's twisted and tangled up. There you go, a couple 2-3 of those. Let's have a gander. Oh, she's beautiful and shiny. A couple 2-3 of those and you're good to go. A little trick for stubborn carbon. Most people who shoot ARs know this trick already. We see we got stubborn buildup up in the front here. If I could get that back into focus or into frame. Some brass, range brass, scrapes away carbon, stubborn carbon, very easily. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just chipping right off. Kind of hard to do when I can't see what I'm doing. But it just pops right off. Again, you don't really need to, but if you see it building up around your crown, you're going to want to lessen that and take care of it. While you're doing this, you always want to check your threads. Make sure there's nothing building up really bad in the threads. And if you need to, drop a tad bit of oil on your detent. Also, you never really have to do anything with your gas block and port unless you're running unless you're running corrosive ammo. You're running corrosive ammo, you're going to be running water down in there. Don't have to do anything with your gas tube. If you want to, you can run a 12 gauge shotgun patch through there if it gets gunked up real bad. And there you go. We just cleaned it. Alright, so for the internal of the barrel, if you're not going to be shooting for a while, go ahead and get you a patch, put some of your favorite oil on the patch, and run the patch through the barrel just so you give your barrel a nice coating of oil. I'm planning on going shooting in a couple of days, so I don't need to, but if you're going to be storing it for a while, run some oil through there. Now it comes to lubing. Everyone has their own preference. Before we get started, make sure you give it a good wipe down. Everything a good wipe down once again if you put solvents on stuff, because you don't want solvents destroying your lube. I use grease. Today, I'm using like M1 Garand rifle grease. And just a dab will do you. You don't have to coat it. You can, but the thicker you make it, the more chances you run of gunking up. You'd be surprised on how little you truly need to properly run your firearms. So just get a little bit of grease. You definitely want to get some in your cam channel. Alright, just get a little bit in there. I don't know if you can see how much I put in there. And your slide rail portions, you want to get a little bit in there. Alright, anywhere where you see metal wear, you definitely want to put a little bit of grease. And the other side, and you want to put it right here because that's where it's riding on your hammer, and a little bit on your bolt tail. Get your finger, spread it out in there so it's really good. Spread it out over here, here, here. I actually might have just put a little too much on, but that's fine. What we can do is protect our metal, take some excess. I just had rust on that side, so I'll put some all around my bolt. Grease, a thin layer of grease is a very, very good lubricant and protectant. So there we are. That's done. Just like that. Grab your bolt. You want to do the same thing with your bolt. You do not want grease on your bolt face. You don't want grease getting down in there and clogging up your firing pin. You also don't want to put grease down in the rear. Get your toothpick. Just a dab on each area. Get your finger, wipe it in. Cover the whole thing. Oh, I wasn't even in frame. There you go. Now you have your little ejector groove cut. You just want to put a little bit in there so it runs very smoothly. We're all greased up. Get it back in the bolt carrier. Now for greasing the actual rifle and rifle rails. You have your upper and lower rails. You want to, oh my goodness, I can't even get that in there. You just want to go around and put in a couple of dabs on there. Can y'all see that? Do it on the same thing on the other side, because you want that bolt to run nice and smooth. Just a small little dab on the actual hammer, and then you want to get some on the lower rails. And the toothpick makes it real easy. Just get you a little dab. You want to get some on your ejector and that lower rail. Whoopsie daisies. Get some over here. Once again, get your finger, run your finger across. Your rails are now greased. Your trigger hammer is now greased. Everything is going to love running. Now, we're going to get our gas tube back in. Now we're going to get our bolt and bolt carrier back in. Now that everything's greased up, get your spring in there. and give her a few good cyclings to get that grease spread through all of the rails. You can go ahead and put your dust cover back on. Dust cover back on. Give it a few more. And she is good to go. You can give a little grease wipe down, oil on the outside, especially if you're all scratched up. Get some oil on your exterior finish. Every now and then you can put a drop of oil on your threads to help it keep from seizing up. I have yet to have one seize. Other people have. It is what it is. See carbon anywhere else you don't like it? Give it a wipe down. Basic and simple. All done. Clean and ready to go. I know it's a long video, just went through how to clean, you get that stubborn carbon off of there, and get your rifle lubed back up and ready for service. Thank you for stopping by CACTICALMAIN. I appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Well, that's if you want to. Also, if you want to support the channel, click on one of the affiliate links in the description down below. It helps me out, helps get more stuff to bring to you to review. Hopefully this simple AK cleaning video helped one of you out. Check you later.